Welcome to the Psych and Business Podcast. We're here to show you how practical psychology can be useful and make your workplace better. I'm Dr. Ernest Wayde. Okay, so last week I introduced you to Blue Rivers Hospital, and we learned that they just lost their CEO after being acquired by Optima Health System. Now, acquisitions of smaller hospitals is something that's going on a lot these days, so this is a pretty common thing to see. Now, Dr. Emily Carter was asked to step in as the new acting CEO until they found a permanent replacement. Using the service profit chain, Dr. Carter has learned that employee satisfaction occurs when employees feel supported through services, policies, and good leaders. Value is created by satisfied, loyal, and productive employees. Customer satisfaction is heavily influenced by the value of the service provided to customers, and customer loyalty is a direct result of customer satisfaction. Profit and growth are stimulated by customer loyalty. And based on this, Dr. Carter has decided that she's going to start by fixing the employees. So I think it's time that we learn a little bit more about Dr. Carter. So let's jump back into the story. Dr. Emily Carter is a well-known and well-respected orthopedic surgeon, heavily recruited to join the physicians at Blue Rivers in 2019. Dr. Carter also engaged in research and pioneered numerous innovative techniques that have brought prestige and financial gain for herself and the hospital. In early 2023, Dr. Carter was promoted to the role of Chief Medical Officer of Blue Rivers Hospital. Known for her integrity as a highly ethical person, the CEO at the time believed that Dr. Carter would be the perfect person to help restore Blue Rivers to its former glory. It also didn't hurt that Dr. Carter's work was one of the only positively earning sectors of the hospital, and her profile as a well-known and well-respected surgeon might help recruit other physicians. Dr. Carter was surprised and disappointed and hurt when she found out about the acquisition of Blue Rivers Hospital. As a member of the executive team, she expected to have been informed earlier. It left her feeling frustrated and distrustful of the past CEO. In fact, when he left, she wasn't that sad. And when Dr. Carter was asked to step in, she was not sure that she wanted the job, but she felt it was the right thing to do for Blue Rivers. Additionally, Dr. Carter is ambitious, a problem solver, and she felt she could solve the problem of Blue Rivers. After using the service profit chain framework to gain a better understanding of the relationship between the loss of profit and the employee satisfaction, she decided to focus on Blue Rivers employees. She decided to start by meeting directly with the medical staff to hear their concerns and their ideas to fix things. By going directly to the staff, her intention was to show the nurses that she cared about them and wanted them involved in solving the problems of Blue Rivers. She also wanted an opportunity to share her vision and her goals for the hospital. She hoped to inspire them with her passion and her expertise, and to win their trust and support. Dr. Carter arranged her first meeting with the nursing staff of Blue Rivers a week after taking over. Now, during the meeting, she spoke at length about her vision for the hospital and her goals to increase profitability for the organization. She expressed her concern that the organization was not profitable because of the nurses, and she then invited the nurses to present their ideas as to how the organization could begin to increase profitability. Now, to her surprise, the response to this approach was not well received. In particular, her tying the loss of profit to the nurses made them defensive and hostile. When invited to speak, most were silent, and the few that did speak expressed unhappiness about being identified as the cause of Blue River's loss of profit and troubles. They expressed frustration that senior leadership seemed oblivious to their problems and didn't seem to care enough to try to understand their point of view, let alone help them. Dr. Carter herself was very upset at this response. She had tried to help the nurses, and all she got was hostility and ingratitude. She had a brief urge to do what her predecessor had done and force them into working longer hours in an attempt to make them provide better value to customers to increase profitability for the hospital. But Dr. Carter also knew that her emotions were high and that was not a good time to make any decisions. Instead, she called a good friend of hers who happened to be a psychologist to vent, because psychologists do make good listeners. After describing the situation, her friend reminded her that though her intentions might have been good, and though she wanted to work with the nurses to find solutions, her apparent focus on profit rather than on the employee experience during the meeting probably did not have the intended impact she was hoping for. The psychologist reminded Dr. Carter that as leaders, our actions, which may come from good intentions, may not be experienced or have the impact that we hope for. This is often caused by failures to communicate clearly, such as implying the nurses were responsible for the loss of profit for Blue Rivers, instead of communicating how important it is to support the nurses and the critical role nurses play in the success of the organization. After having had the opportunity to calm down and think this through, Dr. Carter also realized that though she had a high-level understanding of the relationship of the employee experience to the organizational profitability, her own perception, her own idea of organizational success did not fully include understanding the employees as a group and individuals with specific reasons for their behavior, but rather only looked at them as a necessary cog in the wheel for organizational profitability. Dr. Carter realized she needed to delve deeper into the employee experience. She needed to better understand their behavior and what might be causing it. But first, she needed to meet with the nurses again to make sure her intentions, which were to communicate the importance of nurses and the nurse experience to her personally as a physician and the organization as a leader. Ask for help in better understanding their experience and behaviors, and work with the nurses to find solutions that the nurses would be happy with to improve the nurse experience and engagement at Blue Rivers. Let's stop the story there for now. You can see that sometimes as individuals, but especially as leaders, even when we have good intentions, our actions may not have the impact or may not be experienced as we want them to. A lot of times this has to do with how we communicate our intentions and what actions we actually take, which are based in large part to our perception or our view of things. Now, when I say our perceptions, it's basically how we interpret the information that we take in from the environment, how you experience it, and how you make sense of things. In this case, Dr. Carter's focus is at the organizational level. And so when she took in information and made sense of it, she focused on the relationship between the employees and profit. Specifically, that her unhappy employees were causing a loss of profit for Blue Rivers Hospital. But the employees, like most people, are focused on their own experience, how they feel at work, and how that impacts their behaviors. Think about your actions and behaviors at work. Think about how you communicate. Is it having the impact you want? Is it being experienced in the way you want it to? Not sure? Then ask. As I always say, feedback is a gift, so ask for the gift of feedback from your employees, from your coworkers. Ask them how your actions and behaviors are impacting them. Did that new policy you put in place to help actually help? Is that new process you implemented to make things easier actually making things easier? Ask. If you have enjoyed this episode, please consider subscribing and leaving us a review. Feedback is a gift, and we love gifts. Thanks for listening. I hope you'll join us again next time.